I liked the beat. Solid applause. There's some profanity here that I can't read. Nice. More of that, please. And anyway, nice to have you both on the show. Two professionals. We got mics, headsets. That's what I love to see. Mega Ran, how you doing today?
I'm great, man. This is exciting. I've been watching, listening, reading The Observer forever. So to be here and be a part of this is really cool. Dare I say, it's pretty dope.
Oh my God, Noveliss, how you doing today?
I'm good. Same. I'm a diehard pro wrestling fan. Been a big fan of The Observer for a while. Fan of you and Lance as well. So this is really, really exciting, man.
So I got a message from you, Mega Ran, a while ago, and you were like, "I want to talk to you about this idea." And I was like, "All right, well, this should be interesting." And in fact, the idea was everything that we did today. And I want you to just tell us a little bit about how this came about, the idea behind it, and how it came to be.
Well, I think it's come, like, everything has come exactly kind of how we talked about it. And then the bonus was like actually, talking to you and being on the show. But it's just, I think we worked on a song. Noveliss had the idea to do a song about like what a lot of people feel like are some of the best matches of all time, the series of Okada and Omega. And we're like right around the anniversary of those matches, I think the last one, the Dominion one. And so, yeah, we're like, this would be a great time to talk about it and to premiere it on like a wrestling channel or some sort. And I'm like, okay, well, I think we got to go straight to the top. So we went to The Observer. I was like, all right, I'm going to shoot my shot, see what happens. And luckily you were cool about it. You were willing to listen to I'm sure it sounded strange, my attempt at selling this. Like, okay, it's a rap song, but it's about wrestling. And it's like, it totally fits in because we all love wrestling. I'm sure it's a weird sell, but I've kind of operated in this weird space as a musician who's kind of wears his fandoms on his sleeve, whether it's video games, comic books, anime, and pro wrestling. So to me, it was like a perfect fit to kind of work. I don't know, is this the first time you ever done anything like this, like a music premiere?
I'm pretty sure this is our very first music premiere. But,
Yes.
I mean, going back, we've been doing this since 2005, so there's plenty of stuff I don't remember. It's possible we had another one.
Let's
but
just say it was the first.
yes,
We'll
this
say
is the only one I remember. Hopefully I didn't insult anybody right there.
Right, some band is gonna be like, wait a minute, you played my song in 2006.
So obviously, because it's about Okada and Omega, I mean, if you guys have ever heard this Dave Meltzer fella, big fan of the match, and I was as well. And a lot of people would say that at least one of the three matches in their series, and really you can take your pick, was in fact the greatest wrestling match that they had ever seen in their lives. And I want to ask both of you, we'll start with you, Mega Ran, was this the greatest match that you have ever seen in your life?
Oh man, I think yes, but to me I had to go back. I think for me the making of a classic is the same way when people say a classic album, a classic song, a classic piece of art of any kind, is if it holds up and withstands the test of time. So when you go back and watch them and you still get the same feelings, knowing the results and knowing what happened, and still can like feel all the emotion behind it, the near falls, the everything. Yes, I think the second match to me is my favorite match of all time.
Yeah, there's actually four. I've been chastised by the chat right here. I apologize for. I thought a trilogy was anyway. So Noveliss, you I guess tell us a little bit about your fandom. How long you've been a fan of wrestling, and was this the greatest match that you have ever seen?
Yeah, I've been a fan of wrestling pretty much my whole life. When I was a kid, my mom used to take me and my brother to Blockbuster every Friday, and my brother would always get a game, and I would always get an old wrestling videotape. So I kind of grew up already educated on like older 80s, wrestling, Steamboat, Flair stuff, all that. So I've been a wrestling fan forever, but I do think that at least one of these is the best match ever. I'm kind of particular to the first one. The first one is my favorite. I just like the spots a little more, and I just think that for it to be the first one that kind of put a lot of eyes on New Japan for people who weren't already watching it, I just think that significance is what makes it my favorite out of the 4 matches.
You know, you've been a longtime fan when you remember getting tapes at Blockbuster.
I just watched the last Blockbuster movie, and man, it just took me back. Like Fridays was pizza and Blockbuster, and I remember getting a Starcade. Like I guess it was Starcade 85 or 86, I guess, and I stayed up all night watching it because it was way too long, and my mom was like, I'm going to sleep, and man, absolutely, like Blockbuster that was our beginning of tapes, and then on to trading tapes on the internet and things like that.
The Hayabusa tapes.
So was that your first memory? What was your first memory of pro wrestling? What's the first match you ever saw where I love this?
Well, for me, I lived in Philly. I grew up in Philly, big WWF town. And WrestleMania happened. Gosh, which WrestleMania was it where Savage won in the tournament?
4.
That was 4.
Yeah, it was 4.
So 4 was in Atlantic City, but it was sold out, and that's only about 90 minutes from us. But since Philly was such a big wrestling town, they opened up the stadium, the Spectrum, and put the whole thing on closed circuit TV. And I don't know if it was free or maybe $5. And they had a merch stand there and everything, and we just sat and looked up at a screen like this the whole time, and loved it. And I remember getting a Macho Man foam finger because Macho Man was my guy, still my favorite of all time. And Macho won, and I left. I remember leaving so happy, and from then on, I was completely hooked. Like I absolutely, I can't get enough of this. Next time they come to town, I gotta go. And I didn't go until way later to see my first like live event. It was a Raw while I was at Penn State, and it was it's a classic one where Chris Jericho beat Triple H for the title on the fast count. And then they run it back, and he fires Earl Hebner and all that, and it was great. And just being so hyped to think that we saw a title change. You know, they did the old Dusty finish, and
dude,
and
we rewatched
there,
that, and that was awesome.
Oh, that crowd was so hot! Like that was such a moment. It was great.
And Noveliss, what are your first memories besides Blockbuster?
I was always kind of into like Japanese wrestling. When I was a kid, I had a friend whose dad was like a big wrestling fan, and he was like my tape guy when I was a kid. But I think the first match that I watched that made me like really like fall in love with it was probably Ultimo Dragon versus Dean Malenko at Starrcade '96.
Yep.
I think. Yeah, that just seeing Ultimo Dragon come out with all the belts. You know what I mean? It was crazy, and the match was awesome. And I think that might be the first pay-per-view that I ever ordered as well, like ever. So it'd probably be the Ultimo Dragon versus Dean Malenko match at Starrcade '96.
So obviously, go ahead, Lance. You got a question here.
Yeah, I'm just curious especially because again, I actually drove to Philly, stayed at a friend's aunt's place in Philly, and then drove into Atlantic City and caught WrestleMania live as a fan.
Wow.
So we're on a fairly even playing field as fandom. When you first discovered The Observer, was it oh my God, this is inside information to you? Or was it later when it was just like, oh, hey, another news source? Because I remember I first discovered it in '90, and I was just like, this was the kayfabe era. It's like, oh my God, this is backstage information. This is incredible. What was it like when you first discovered it?
Same. I had a friend at school maybe who's like, he even like pulled me close. Was like, hey, look what I found, you know. And he starts telling me like, these are all the secrets. This is what wrestlers really think about each other and what's really going on. And I was like, how'd you get this? You know, like I'm thinking like you're gonna get in trouble. Like this is what? And it just really like blew the lid off of it. And later on, I likened it to I had an ex-girlfriend who was really into soap operas, and she would buy the soap opera digest. And it was the same type of thing where she'd be like, oh yeah, well these two, they date each other on screen, but they really don't like each other. And this one, when they kiss, they hate each other so much that he puts garlic in his mouth when he kisses her because he hates her, you know. And I'm like, what? You know, so I would sit and watch with her and see all that kind of stuff happen. And I believe it was sometime early '90s for sure for me. Like a friend at school had just opened. He just blew my mind. You know, it was like, wait, this is like a door that we're not supposed to be behind.
Right.
Like, what's happening? You know, so yeah, it was great to see that.
So you guys, like, I don't know how old both of you are, but I mean, we all have similar memories of the early days of wrestling and Blockbuster, etc. So one of the things when you were a wrestling fan that has been watching and enjoying wrestling as long as all of us, obviously the next step is usually some sort of backyard wrestling. So the question here to both of you is, did you ever engage in any sort of backyard wrestling?
Noveliss, go ahead.
Pleading the
I
fifth.
actually am like a student of martial arts, so naturally I got into some backyard sketchy like wrestling when I was pretty young. We just I never went as far as like getting in an actual ring, but me and my buddies had a little thing set up on a trampoline, and we would always set up wrestling matches and have matches on the weekends and record them and stuff. So I did partake in some trampoline backyard wrestling.
Excellent.
Yeah, I had we went way into it. We would take the refrigerator, like cardboard boxes, draw our own wrestling belts, cut them out. We had friends who were really good at artwork, and we'd make a little nameplate out of some more cardboard, put it on top when the person changed belts. But like thinking back, I don't know how we even did it. Like people won matches, but we never like discussed who was going to win. So it was just like who got cut, you know, on a pin, and it was just like, oh wow, he beat him. It's an upset. You know,
So it was
like,
your basic worked pro wrestling with shoot finishes.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we never knew who was going to win. It was a pure shoot. I have a memory of my friend Byron, who was like the shortest kid on the block, beating Al, who was like 6'6", because he just like, I don't know, he just caught him slipping and kept him down. And I remember running down the street with our title. The street we grew up on is Woodstock, so we called it the WWWF. It was the Woodstock World Wrestling Federation. And I clearly can